Okay. Hello, again, if anyone's watching this. I figured if you watch the last video or part one of the last video, I talked about the vacation that I didn't go away on. Uh, Looking at it more positively, we will call it a staycation, but because it is the 2 year anniversary of that, and I am going away next week, um, I figured, you know, vacations and how I deal with it or what I've done uh, with my social anxiety. I figured it'd be a decent topic for this week or today. It's not like a weekly thing. Anyway, we'll skip past when I was a kid where we went away a few times. There were all family things you do. Everyone does with their family. Uh, Once I got out of high school and started working, I didn't go away for years. I would say, you know, my late teens until maybe my early 30s. I can think of 3 times I went away where they were like 3 day trips, and all three were like baseball themed things I did with my father. We went to, Cooperstown, to the Baseball Hall of Fame. We took a trip to Boston to see Fenway Park, went on there. Then we went to Baltimore and saw Camden Yards. We did stop in Atlantic City on our way back, but I never really had a full vacation. Um, and Anyway, and then at some point, I had this friend who I worked with. We became good friends, and one day I think I had been off, and he was working at night, and we were both off the next day, but one of us had something to do later that day. But we decided after we got off work, we were going to go to Foxwoods. In distance, in miles, it's not far, but if you're on anything that's not on Long Island is far from Long Island because you can't go straight there. You got to go around if there's not a ferry to available. So, and at the time, I don't think he had a car, and my car was not in good shape. I was uncomfortable making the trip there. So we ended up taking trains and buses to get there. We ended up spending more time traveling than we actually did there. At one point, we actually somehow accidentally broke into and got locked in Grand Central Station. Yes, it does, or at least it did close for a while at night. We did not know that at the time until we could not find our way back out. Yeah. Uh, so I like having a little. I've been interested in poker, and I started watching it on TV. Which not that I've played it that much. I really hadn't played it all at that point. Anyway, then I guess it was the next year or something. We're talking and we're like, yeah, maybe. He's like, yeah, maybe make a weekend trip to Atlantic City or something like that. Like, yeah, and I kind of half jokingly said, yeah, oh, we should just go out to Vegas. And all of a sudden his eyes lit up and he's like, yeah, Vegas. But next thing you know, we booked a trip to Vegas. something I could not have done by myself. But when you're doing with a friend, it's much easier. He's more of an outgoing person. I'm always been more attracted to outgoing people. I don't mean in like the physical attraction way, just like a friend way. So I kind of let him be kind of the lead at everything. So we just went there for a few days. You know, I think that was the first time I ever actually played poker, and I was the idiot at the table who didn't know what he was doing, and people were looking at me, you know, making. I remember some lady making some remark about, oh, these idiots who don't know what they're doing. As I've learned a little bit more about poker, I always feel that's the type of person you kind of actually want at the table because someone doesn't know what they're doing is you should win money off of in the long run. Anyway, uh, yeah. So of course, with the early aids, we chose to go to Vegas in the middle of the summer. Is I think our first day there was 113 degrees, um, and then that winter we took the weekend trip to Atlantic City. Um, it's not Atlantic City's not a nice place in the winter. It's cold. It's dreary. It's kind of dumpy. Or at least it was back then. I don't know if they've fixed it up a little bit since then. Uh, and then the next summer we decided Vegas again. We're gonna. Last time we only went there for a few days. We made like almost a week long trip out of it this time. Um, guess it was shortly after that where we moved away because we didn't go on another vacation. I can't think of another vacation we went on again, but my father would go to Vegas every now and then for the business. He'd always take my stepmother. But one year, for whatever reason, she couldn't get off work, or for whatever reason, she couldn't go. But he knew I liked it, so he invited me along. We had the extra ticket and hotel room. Yes, I shared a room with my father at 35 or whatever I was, but we had separate beds. So, uh, and then after that, I went a few years without going on vacation again. We're finally saying, you know what? At some point, I have to go on vacation. Uh, and while I didn't put it together, I guess this is first time I was on medication for any length of time. I decided to go on vacation by myself, and I chose Vegas because I knew Vegas at that point. There's something easier about when you know the place. And I actually did it twice by myself. I think it was 2 out of 3 years. And it's easy to get around. There's not much to do. Like you get to the airport, you take a cab to your hotel. And you just cab's easy enough to get because you just wait online for them. And then after that, I did do a lot of walking back and forth. I'm in and out of casinos. I played a lot of slots. I did play a little poker, but slots just because you don't have to deal with people as much. But after that, I don't need to take a cab. I didn't need a car or anything, and it just became an easier trip for me. So then eventually, I finally decided to do something different, and that was Disney. And so then we get to the trip a couple of years ago. Guess I'll go into the reasons why now I didn't go. At the time, my car, I had a few issues with my car. Because along with the social anxiety, there are ADD issues. If you know things about mental illness, a lot of them are interconnected. Uh, and my car hadn't been inspected, and you get uncomfortable going, and then as you get well, for it's uncomfortable to go, and I put things off, so the combination of the two don't work well. So I ends up being way overdue for inspection. And then that winter, we had a huge snowstorm. I think got 32 inches where I am, and I got stuck driving home in it. I don't know how I made it home. I passed cars with cars stuck on the road as I am driving home in a uh, a Mustang with the donut on one of the wheels. But after that, my windshield wipers wouldn't didn't stop working as well. They would work for a while and they'd stop. And I noticed if I opened my window and I pushed it, they would start up again. Um, I think it was just there was so much snow coming down so fast and so heavy. It like did something to the motor. I'm not sure. I'm not a car expert. Anyway, but eventually it got to the point where they stopped working altogether. And in past vacations, I went on myself. My father always drove me to the airport. It's like 10 minutes from his house. Uh, this year he didn't offer. Uh, so that meant I was going to have to get there by myself. Now I'm worried about parking in this public place. Uh, Uninspected. Am I getting a ticket? Am I getting my car towed? Uh, and then it started raining pretty hard, and my windshield wipers weren't working. Long way to go. It was a long enough way to go without windshield wipers that I didn't feel I could make it there. And I had an early flight. I didn't want to call anyone I knew in the middle of the night to ask them to take me. So the only other option I could think of was a cab. I had a few things about social anxiety. I don't know if I mentioned this in a previous one, but making phone calls is like a big thing. It's one of those things that just stirs up the anxiety. I don't know whether it's the mental thought process that goes into it or what, but I I spent hours going back and forth, looking at taxi numbers and this whole weird thought process went through my head, and I couldn't make the call. I got to the point where I had to leave, and I got in my car and I drove like a block. I'm like, I can't do it in this weather. And I got home. I just drove right back home, and I ended up not going on vacation. Um, so as you can imagine, that was a pretty bad few days. Then, as I mentioned, next year I did go. There was one issue I was leaving where all of a sudden I couldn't find my flight confirmation number because I did it through Disney, and I'm looking through emails. I did end up finding it in a, a packet they'd given me, but that kind of panicked me a little. I'm like, oh, what do I do now? I like to think I probably would have just went down to the airport and said, hey, yeah, you have my number. I'm not sure how you would have went about it, but yeah, I wasn't 100% sure what to do, but I do think I would have gone down there anyway. Uh, so I ended up going to Disney. And the thing with Disney, at least the way I did it, is it's a lot like Atlantic City, where it's very easy. Um, it's all kind of like this all inclusive thing if you stay on the Disney grounds, which is what I did. I got a Disney hotel, so they give you their free transportation to the resort. Then from there, the bus that takes you where to whatever park you want to go, and you never have to leave the grounds. You never need a cab. Never need to rent a car. So in a way, it's like the kid version of Atlantic City. I don't know, where you just kind of like all in a closed area, and there's not much to do outside of that. So, as I mentioned last time, this year I got tickets to the San Diego Comic Con. And this is different from the other ones. Well, yes, Comic Con itself is in its, I guess, in a convention center, so it's one place. But I feel like now I'm actually going to a, a city. Not that Vegas isn't a city, but I'm renting a car for the first time. I'm gonna have to navigate my way around the city. I mean, I know with GPS that's easy enough, but it's a little few different experiences, which I guess cause a little anxiety. And I'm getting there, a day before, and I'm staying an extra day, so there is some anxiety, but not as much as there's been for past trips, even though there's more stuff involved. In fact, as I get now where I'm, less than a week away, my biggest anxiety is being ready for the trip. Making sure I have everything is packed. I, I'm so unorganized, and hopefully having my apartment semi clean when I leave. Um, in case for some reason my landlords need to come up while I'm gone. Not that I think it'll happen, but that's always a thought in the back of my head. So there is some anxiety, and these are my last. Tomorrow's my last day off before I go. So I'm starting to feel a little anxious, but it's not so much about the trip as it is about getting everything settled for the trip, which is, I guess, a good thing. That not that I'm anxious, but that it's not so much about the traveling and everything else. Uh, but we'll see when I get there. If I'm nervous, I'm sure I'll be nervous to some extent. But after, does it? Am I okay the first day? Does it take me a couple of days? Um, but yeah, it'll be a new experience for me. And again, just pushing myself to do something else. So I guess that was just my experiences with vacations. And thanks for listening. I realized I went on a little long again. I probably should have cut this into two parts, looking at the time. But I didn't expect it to be this long. All right. Well, thanks and goodbye.